senior U.S. official with me in a conversation earlier today, said the following: "We are absolutely in touch with Iran, absolutely. The talks have been positive. If we get lucky, we will have something by the end of the day." End of the day suggesting 8 o'clock later tonight. So on the clock, wherever you are in the time zone right now, that's 11 hours from now. I think it's important for two things, Dana. When you look at what the vice president said in Hungary last hour, he talked about the military objectives of Iran are being completed now, which I think might surprise a lot of people, but still feels confident that it can get a response by 8 o'clock tonight. Now, what the president said yesterday when he was in the briefing room, he said the Iranians came back with a 10-point plan, but it did not meet the satisfaction about the nuclear program or the Strait of Hormuz. But he still said it's a significant proposal, significant step. It's not good enough, but it's a very significant step. So whether or not there is some hints in all of this, we'll see throughout the course.
Yep, so we'll take you through all of it. We are 11 hours away from the president's ultimatum to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and come to a deal or else face obliteration. American forces are keeping up the pressure, bombing dozens of military targets on Karg Island overnight, and that's according to a U.S. official.
So we also got this from the last hour on Truth Social moments ago. Here we go now, and it's a long one. "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran."
So let's get going. Trey Yingst reports from Tel Aviv. Dan Hoffman with analysis on where this could all be heading. But first, a busy day at the White House, and that's where we find Alexandria Hoff. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Dana. Well, you know, there have been very few presidential warnings in history as sobering as the first 6 words of that Truth Social post. A whole civilization will die today. And sobering is the point of this. President Trump saying he is not pushing back this 8 p.m. deadline as he had pushed back deadlines before, that Iran has had more than enough time to come to their senses, to come to a deal and open up the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking from the briefing room podium yesterday, the president said that he still has interest and optimism in coming to a diplomatic resolution.
I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this, but we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern.
So 8 Eastern, that is 3:30 a.m. Tehran time. The president does not want them to sleep on that deadline. And following through with this threat of decimation to Iranian power plants, that is what is promised here. It's something the president said that he will do if necessary, but doesn't want to, especially if the U.S. has to extend a hand in eventually helping Iran rebuild.
I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation. And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive things.
Now, the president yesterday dismissing any criticism that targeting civilian infrastructure would amount to a war crime. He says given these stakes at hand, that just would not apply. Meanwhile, Iranian officials via state TV are urging young people, civilians in their country, to create these human chains and human shields around power plants. But, you know, with that Truth Social post, I think there's a psychological element to that. The president's trying to speak directly to those who are potentially in Iranian emerging leadership who he has called reasonable, telling them to take this moment, utilize it, and prove that to be the case of them being reasonable. Send it back to you guys.
All right, Alex, thank you.
So we want to get to Trey Yingst now, the latest from Tel Aviv. And Trey, good afternoon to you. What more do you have at this hour? Hello.
Yeah, Bill, good morning. Anticipation is growing across the region ahead of that 8 p.m. Eastern Time deadline tonight and that post by President Trump on Truth Social where he said, in part, we will find out tonight one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. It comes as Fox News can confirm that dozens of U.S. strikes targeted Iran's Karg Island overnight. Fox's Jennifer Griffin says the targets included bunkers, radar stations, and ammunition storage. Landing docks, though, Jennifer says, were intentionally not targeted, according to a senior U.S. official. As this is taking place, the talk of diplomacy continues, and there are many people, including the Israelis and Gulf countries, waiting to see what will happen in the hours ahead. President Trump saying yesterday from the James Brady briefing room what will happen if diplomacy doesn't prevail.
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen.
President Trump telling Fox News over the weekend that Iran isn't even negotiating anymore about their nuclear program. The president said, quote, "The big thing is they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not even negotiating that point. It's so easy. That's already been conceded. Most of the points are conceded." Now, with the talk of diplomacy, we're also learning more about that daring rescue operation to save a U.S. airman over the weekend. High-level U.S. sources told Fox News that while the airman rescue was going on, that U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper directed a strike on an IRGC headquarters in an underground facility near the Iranian capital of Tehran. I'm told the strike was done with B-2 bombers that flew from the United States using bunker buster bombs, the same weapons used in Operation Midnight Hammer. The source telling Fox News the headquarters was obliterated. And so clearly the United States and Israel keeping up the pressure on the Islamic Republic. And we know today the Israelis bombed many of the rail bridges across Iran after warning civilians there to stay away from the trains. Bill, Dana?
Remarkable stuff. Trey, thanks. Trey Yinks watching every headline from the Middle East for us. Thank you. I want to bring in Dan Hoffman now for analysis. Former CIA Chief of Station, Fox News contributor. Dan, on the deadline, go ahead and size it up. What's the pro? What's the con? How do you see it?
Well, I think there's three ways this could play out, Bill. One is that we do nothing. I certainly don't see that happening. The second option is that we either have a deal or significant progress towards a deal. And the third option is that we don't get any of that progress and the president decides to start launching these strikes. This is a clear statement from the president warning Iran that we would take action like this, and U.S. credibility is at stake. So I have no doubt that we've got our bombers warmed up in the bullpen ready to take action if Iran doesn't proceed to negotiate in good faith. These things are never decided, it appears, at least with Iran, until the last minute.
Well, and who knows how they're even talking amongst each other and who's in charge at this point. Can you speak to the Karg Island strikes, the military strikes on that? What psychologically does that do to the Iranians who are trying to make a decision today?
I think those strikes were designed to push Iran in the right direction and let them know that we're serious about launching strikes tonight. If Iran doesn't meet the 8 p.m. deadline, we have the capability and we have clearly the willpower to launch serious strikes on Iran. And I think that's what was behind some of these strikes. It's worth noting that Israel has been striking Iran's critical infrastructure, petrochemical industry, and their steel industry as well, all along, as well as key leadership targets, as you noted.
Dan, it's hard for me to see what's on the other side of this deadline if the attacks of obliteration are carried out on behalf of the Israelis and the American military. We'll put that on the back burner for now and see whether or not that happens. I thought what the president said yesterday was something that was new information, that a man-pad brought down that F-15E Eagle. And the reason that's important, that's a shoulder-fired rocket-propelled grenade, essentially. It's a heat seeker, and it goes after the engine of a plane. Now, you well know that the CIA developed the Stinger for the Afghan rebels to bring down Soviet helicopters through an 8-year war in Afghanistan and turn the tide against the Soviet Union. I believe this is the first time we've been given an indication that the Iranians have this capacity. What does that mean for our Air Force flying in that theater, Dan?
Yeah, so listen, I think yesterday's press conference where we saw Director of CIA John Ratcliffe standing beside President Trump was really a window into the extraordinary cooperation we see from the intelligence community informing the president and other key policymakers so they can make the best decisions. And of course, we saw that with the rescue of our airmen. And then post facto on that strike against the F-15, where did that manpad come from? The extent to which China or Russia is not just providing Iran with financial assistance, but arming them as well and giving them the intelligence Iran needs to strike our military assets. These are all things that the intelligence community, I think, is very much focused on.
In fact, Ratcliffe spoke about the Iranians and how they felt after we rescued our airmen. This was yesterday at the White House.
For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. Our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission.
So, Dan, as you prepare to go through the day, what will you be looking to? What would be a tell for you about whether this deadline is going to be met or not?
I think there's just a lot happening behind the scenes, Dana, and I wouldn't be surprised if even the CIA is reaching out clandestinely to their contacts inside Iran and in the region. We honestly may not see much. We might see more military strikes from the United States or from Israel today, of course, and maybe more on Karg Island, designed to demonstrate to Iran that we're serious about this deadline. But we may not see much definitive evidence of where we're headed until close to 8 p.m.
All right, right now, a little bit before 5 o'clock in the afternoon there in Tehran. The sun sets locally at 6:30. We'll watch it by the hour. It really feels like we're reaching a significant moment, Dan. Thanks for taking us through it. Dan Hoffman, thanks. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.
Hello everyone, I have a new tool for you that is the ring path selection. It will select ring edges between the active edge and the one picked by the mouse. It works similarly to the shortest path selection that is natively in Blender, and however this will select the ring edges, and this tool is an asset, so to install it you need to set up the folder containing the blend file as asset library in the preferences, and then in the edit mode you will find it in unassigned tools over there at the top, where you can assign shortcuts.
There's lots of horrible things happening. Epstein, you know, reading those emails. He's like he's messaging his friends, calling them the N-word, and I'm like, fuck, he's just like us. Like they're like, the Epstein file is gonna expose a lot of horrible shit. I'm reading them like, this guy was cool as fuck. I don't know. God, this motherfucker had aura. No, it's fucking bad. But now they're saying he might be alive, which part of me is like, oh, thank God. No, they're saying he's like playing Fortnite in Tel Aviv or something right now. It would be so funny. It really would. I don't know. It's crazy. You know, he's an awful guy, but he called people retarded, and that made me respect him. You know? There's lots of horrible things happening. Epstein, you know, reading those emails.
Ladies, say what makes you come, dude. Confidence has been an issue recently, Jim.
Ooh. Why?
So I've been banging.
Ooh.
This girl.
Boo. That must be fun.
So for a few months, I've been banging her in the right hole. Everything's correct. You never know. So yesterday, she tells me the whole time we've been banging, a few months, she hasn't come in even once.
Ooh. Is she on Zoloft?
God, it feels like you've been betrayed. You know?
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, what did you do?
So then, I ask her, so is it even possible? She goes, yes, I come with a vibrator. So I go, where is it? And then she goes, "Oh, I didn't want to bring it up because usually when I bring it up, guys get insecure, you know." And I don't give a dude. Whatever we need. I can get a black guy here in 15 minutes. Dude. I don't give a fuck. Ladies, say what makes you come, dude. The past 4 months I've been buying a lie. Insecure? Fuck. It's technology, dude. I can't, you know. You think if a Mexican guy is digging a ditch and I fucking show up with a bobcat, you think he's gonna be like, oh, I'm useless. Come, bitch. I don't give a fuck. What do we need?
Was she acting like she was coming?
Yes, drama, real good. Sydney Sweeney shit. Shaking. The vibrations. They betrayed me. I know you. I know Jim doesn't know that feeling. Do you? You know when your wife comes.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, you hit my shoulder that time.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. So did you get the vibrator and try? Did you do it right then on the spot?
I didn't have it there, but we're gonna try again.
Just fucking grab a Roomba and fucking call it a night.
Amazing. So are you looking forward to your revenge? Are you gonna?
Yes, there will be revenge. I was even shopping for vibrators myself, dude. Yeah. I was shopping for things where, dude, the battery isn't even enough. I was shopping for fucking tools. I was shopping for things you can plug in the wall and the lights flicker. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I'm gonna. Next time she's over at my place, dude, I'm coming with a chainsaw, dude.
Oh my God!
Is it working?
Holy shit! Oh my God! So Ari, I mean, this is absolutely incredible. You've been all over the road lately. How's that going?
Yeah, wonderful club. Stand Up Live in Phoenix. Shout out Rochester, Carlson. Yeah. The clubs are so awesome. The people are awesome. If there are only more chicks, but yeah, it's like 500 rapists in a room. You're yelling fag and you're crushing, dude.
Yeah. And that's arimatticomedy.com?
arimatti.com, for the love of God. Some of these shows are looking rough. I don't need this right now. No one's coming. I mean... literally and figuratively, fuck!
arimatti.com. M-A-T-T-I. Get your fucking tickets.
Tonight, a civilization will die. Donald Trump threatening to obliterate Iran if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz, with some suggesting he's prepared to use nuclear weapons. I honestly think Trump is just making loud threats that I don't think will move the needle for Iran. They have continually said no to Donald Trump. Now, Trump has threatened to take out power plants and bridges and send them back to the Stone Age. From his latest Truth Social post saying, "Tonight a civilization will die," people are now calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. And this includes prominent personalities, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had supported Trump heavily in the past. This is Trump's final gambit. If he succeeds in Iran, the naysayers, the people saying that he should be removed, they'll back off. History dictates if Trump wins, he will be praised. He will be a hero. I'm not saying what he is doing is right. I am saying, on the historical record, every victor, not every single time, but typically, they're the good guys. As the saying goes, history is written by the victors. Most notably with Abraham Lincoln. The man did a lot of very brutal things that by today's standard, the left would call him a fascist, such as suspending habeas corpus, arresting politicians. Sherman's March to the Sea, nightmarish indeed. The destruction of farms and civilian infrastructure. But yet, my friends, they say Donald Trump must be removed for threatening scorched earth on Iran. In fact, what Trump is proposing isn't even scorched earth. For those who are not familiar, scorched earth is a military tactic where you destroy civilian infrastructure to eliminate the enemy's capability to wage war. The truth is, in war, we try to maintain our conflict to those who are engaged in the conflict. But when push comes to shove and you want to win and shut down an enemy, targeting civilian infrastructure destroys their economic capabilities. They will no longer be able to raise or sustain an army. As it goes, soldiers march on their bellies. With the severing of their electrical grid and their transportation lines, this will knock Iran out and eliminate any kind of coordinated war effort. But there's no guarantee it wins. Iran has been preparing for this day for decades. Certainly the U.S. has as well. And now Donald Trump has made a move. He has entered into the fray with the Iran war, and he has no choice but to succeed. And this is why he's getting so, what's the right word? Shocking in his rhetoric, saying that a civilization will die because they will not back down. These are religious fundamentalists. They are fighting for a cause beyond this earthly realm. You will not negotiate with that. This is why so many people have warned past presidents and even this one. You're rolling the dice with Iran. 90+ million people, not all of them religious fanatics, but enough of them, will be willing to die and refuse to surrender if you try to force them to bend the knee. And Iran has said no. So tonight, my friends, 8 p.m. Eastern is supposed to be the deadline where Donald Trump is prepared to wipe out infrastructure to such a degree they will not be capable of even organizing regional governance. We'll see. Could this be one big threat from Donald Trump? A move not intended to be taken seriously? Well, my friends, the challenge here is, if Donald Trump does not make a move on Iran and they refuse to back down, it's over. Trump is lost. This will be his final gambit. If Trump does not fire on Iran, assuming Iran says no deal, we will see the emperor has no clothes. Now, my concern is that Donald Trump is not a man who can allow that to happen, in which case we will see strikes on Iran the likes of which we have never seen. But what does this mean for us as a world? If Donald Trump loses here, it truly will be the end of the liberal economic order, at least from the U.S. perspective. If Donald Trump is removed under the 25th Amendment after his failures, he will go down in history as the worst president we have ever had. if Donald Trump wins, if he destroys the Iranian regime and eliminates their capability to, let's just say, entangle the region in conflict, and he puts their oil production under the Western sphere of influence, the history books will herald him a great leader who finally brought peace to the Middle East. It's one big play, my friends, and Trump has no choices here. Here's the story from the Daily Mail. Before we get started, though, my friends, you got to go to castbrew.com because while the world is on fire, you still got to drink coffee, and we sell coffee, the best coffee. Everybody agrees. We got coffee pods. Die tonight. after the Islamic regime rejected his peace demands as the clock ticks down toward the president's deadline to unleash hell on the country. Trump told his followers on Truth Social, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. The president's deadline is set to expire by 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. However, now that we have the complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows?" He added, "We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the people of Iran." The U.S. hit approximately 50 military targets on Karg Island overnight, a crucial Iranian oil export hub, as fears grow over a potential ground invasion to seize it. Bunkers, radar station, and ammunition storage were hit by U.S. airstrikes, according to senior administration officials. Footage emerged on social media showing the aftermath of the destruction on the island. The escalating military action comes after senior Iranian officials rejected a proposal conveyed by intermediaries for a temporary ceasefire with the U.S. The Islamic regime showed no signs of agreeing to Trump's demand to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The passageway is a critical choke point through which roughly 20 to 25% of the world's seaborne oil passes. Interestingly, many people highlighted the strikes on Karg Island as a violation of the terms, in fact, that Donald Trump had said, "We will set a deadline," but the bombing began anyway. The president said Iran had till the end of Tuesday to restore access to the passageway or face strikes on civilian infrastructure, including bridges and power plants, in what would mark the biggest escalation of the war so far. Trump noted during a White House press conference on Monday that very little is off limits from attacks if Iran did not agree to his demands, adding that every power plant will be destroyed, every bridge. Global oil markets have spun out of control as Trump's deadline nears and Iran refuses to reopen the strait. The war has sparked the world's biggest ever disruption of energy supplies, the head of the IEA warned. Gas prices in the U.S. have skyrocketed to $4.14 on average nationwide, an increase by over $1 since the war began. Out by me, diesel is at $6. That's a nuclear bomb, my friends. When diesel reaches prices that high, it was $3 several weeks ago. It was 3-something. When diesel goes that high, this means the transportation of your goods, it's going to cost substantially more money. This means that if you want to get milk, bread, and eggs, well, it's trucks that are delivering those things, and those trucks run on diesel. When that diesel goes up, the cost of everything else will go up with it. The question is this war worth it? Now, it seems very obvious that Donald Trump made his move on Maduro to secure oil infrastructure in Venezuela to stabilize prices before entering Iran because the U.S. knew Iran would shut down the Strait of Hormuz. I don't see this as anything other than all according to plan. Marjorie Taylor Greene has now joined the chorus of individuals calling for the removal of Donald Trump, including Candace Owens. Former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says 25th Amendment. Not a single bomb has dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. And that's, of course, in reference to Donald Trump saying a whole civilization will die tonight. We have this. Laura Loomer saying an incredible act of disloyalty. Alex Jones and Robert Barnes just called for the 25th Amendment to be used against President Trump.
Per existential threat. How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment is harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over. It literally needs to be something like that. It's that bad.
I've known you a long time. You've never called for an internal coup before.
Ever. But that's how dangerous this is. That's how risky it is for the whole world.
Yeah, if I was the Democrats, I'd stop poking Trump and messing with him. That only makes it worse. Like, you guys need to watch out. This isn't a guy acting like he's crazy. This is real.
What's there going to be to take over in 2026 or 2028 if this hits the fan? If we get it, he's threatening an extinction level event for the people of Iran tomorrow. Does nobody think there'll be any blowback from that? If he follows through on that, the whole world is screwed.
You were saying during the break, there's other ways to do this. People need to just, not just telling the truth, like Susie Walsh said. It's time to just not, say what you just said.
Yeah, well, legally and constitutionally, the vice president is an independent elected official. The same as legally and constitutionally, the only oath any member of the military takes, any member of the State Department takes, any member of the intelligence community
takes, it's to the Constitution. Well, Loomer is saying no way. PolitiFact says, following Trump's Iran social media post, could the 25th Amendment be invoked against him? Do y'all remember when Democrats proposed, this was, I believe, just after Joe Biden had won in 2020, creating a 25th Amendment council? Congress would delegate their powers over the 25th Amendment, which allows for the removal of a president if he is convalesced or incapacitated, or otherwise just unable to do his job. They said there would be a panel that would ultimately decide. And it was funny because many people said now they're planning to actually, I believe this was before the election. And people were saying they're planning a way to remove Trump. And then everyone paused a minute and said, actually, I think this is about Joe Biden, because the dude is not with it and wasn't the whole time. But in reality, it may have actually just been for Trump. It may have been their failsafe for this reason. When you get the likes of Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene breaking from Donald Trump, adding to the chorus of calls for his immediate removal as an evil man, I would not be surprised if we actually see Donald Trump face this removal threat. Now, in all seriousness, the only issue that we're dealing with, Truth Social, let's be real. When the war in Iraq and Afghanistan started, George W. Bush mostly just kept his mouth shut. He did press conference when he did press conference. We didn't have social media. Barack Obama surging troops in Afghanistan, Libya, Egypt. I mean, the removal of Muammar Gaddafi, shocking with these airstrikes. The man was brutally murdered in the street. Trump is not a unique president in this capacity. He is unique in only that he publicly states these threats, which, of course, if Trump said nothing, there'd be nothing to talk about. And if Trump bombed Iran power plants, then, to be honest, the U.S. government could just deny it, which is what they have tended to do in the past. This is something remarkable that we are seeing, my friends, the end of the liberal economic order if this plays out the way these people have called for it. The removal of Donald Trump, the failure to secure Iranian assets and infrastructure for the Western sphere of influence would truly be the end of the liberal economic order, and it would be a Chinese communist ascendancy. The Chinese Communist Party is set to take over as the dominant global economy in the next several years. Now, they've been set back a little bit. It was going to happen sooner than we thought. Got set back due to actions of the Trump administration. The question is, who will be the dominant global power? It's looking right now that Trump is losing massive support. And I think a lot of this has to do with fear from these individuals. They're falling in line because they're scared. If Donald Trump truly crosses the line, these people who backed him and supported him, well, they fear what the social repercussions will be. I'll screech to the heavens exactly why I voted for Trump and why I supported him. I'll tell you right now that, of course, I've always been opposed to the war in Iran, but I don't believe we solve any problems by threatening Donald Trump with the 25th Amendment. I don't believe that former supporters coming out and saying, remove his crazy ass and have an internal coup is going to convince him to do anything other than double down. Trump rejects those who spit in his face. We learned this with Democrats. They whispered sweet nothings into his ear, and he gave them a bump stock ban. And we all laughed and said, if the Democrats just kissed his ass, he'd roll out a red carpet for them and give them everything they wanted. You'd have trans kids for days. So the people who are coming out now thinking that you're going to convince this man of anything by attacking him and insulting him, you are dead wrong. And he still does have a massive support base. But that being said, the support base is cracking. And with prominent podcasts skyrocketing to the top of the charts because they are saying Israel bad and calling Trump the mad king who must be removed, there's money to be made. But I can tell you, for many of these prominent individuals, they're probably looking at it like, well, Trump's support in the mainstream is fractured. MAGA, of course, is strong. Republicans, about 70 to 80%, support his war efforts in Iran. Of those who identify as strong MAGA, it's around 90%. But what about all of the middle of the road people? The plurality, nay, the majority, are absolutely opposed to this. So I imagine for a lot of these people, their turning on Trump is simply reading the room. They're looking around and going, wow, everybody's mad at Trump? Me too, I guess. Well, I'll always tell you what I really think, and I certainly have great fears. Not of social issues or what podcasters think. If that was the case, I'd probably just be making the Israel Bad podcast, because then I'd probably get a lot more views and make more money. No, my concerns are what happens if Trump fails, if this war backfires, if China becomes the dominant global power, if we get internal upset in this country with calls for Donald Trump to be cooed out of power. This means we are stumbling toward complete governmental collapse in this country. And of course, you know what that means. Civil war. But perhaps the one unifying thing that could prevent this is all the Trump supporters now joining with the left and screaming Trump must be removed. PolitiFact asks the question. Reacting to Trump's post, Chris Murphy of Connecticut wrote on X, if I were in Trump's cabinet, I would spend Easter calling constitutional lawyers of the 25th Amendment. Indeed. They say the 25th Amendment, added to the Constitution in 1967, sought to resolve several thorny issues of presidential and vice presidential continuity. It also allows the president to declare himself unable to fulfill his duties and transfer power to the vice president. They say the president can resume presidential powers and duties by transmitting a declaration that no inability exists. If Congress, by a 2/3 vote in both the House and the Senate, agree that the president is unable to serve, the vice president continues to act as president. Such a move could permanently strip a president of his powers, which is why some legal analysts refer to the Section 4 as the involuntary removal mechanism. Indeed, my friends, we are inching ever closer. Now, Congresswoman Yasemin Ansari has also announced she's introducing impeachment against Pete Hegseth. Oh, boy. But let me show you where I think things are truly interesting. Patriots.win. For those that are not familiar with Patriots.win, this used to be The Donald, a Reddit forum. Back in the day, about 10 years ago, you'd go on Reddit to the default front page, and all of the top posts were pro-Trump. And so Reddit got pissed off and banned The Donald for no reason, just because they were interfering in our elections. I want to stress that again. It was a social media forum where social media users were cheering for Donald Trump. So the woke left, the institution of Reddit, they banned Trump supporters. They banned The Donald. Interestingly, the CEO at the time also edited internal database to change the comment of an individual, which is shockingly insane. Well, The Donald broke off and created, I believe it was originally called The Donald.win. After Donald Trump lost in 2020, they changed it to Patriots.win. It is the principal hub for support for Donald Trump. Here's a post from 10 hours ago showing Laura Loomer's tweet. An incredible act of disloyalty, Alex Jones and Robert Barnes have called for the 25th Amendment to be used against Trump. The top comment reads, Alex Jones has been captured by the globalists. Not the same since Sandy Hook verdict. The next comment is, sure, buddy. One person says, calling Alex Jones deep state is the most hilarious psyop ever. Which is the psyop? Is it Alex Jones captured by globalists, or is it claiming he's captured by globalists? Second top comment. Trump effed up his entire legacy by bombing Iran for Israel. He's saying some outlandish-ish currently, too. The next comment. The things he is threatening to do, like destroying civilian infrastructure, is textbook war crimes. If he bombs the desalination and power plants for 90 million people, I'm off the train completely. Absolute red line. The next comment, the response. Nobody cares about your gay red lines. That's the Donald. This third top comment. Alex Jones turned gay like his frogs. Someone said, I got a theory that Alex Jones and others are doing this when the Democrats win. When the Democrats wins, their viewership will increase, thus making more money. Much like the Republicans during Democrat rule. Plead money when they are not in power, and while in power, do nothing or attack their own base. What is he trying to say? Someone responded, exactly. Support us and we'll change what the current regime is doing is the most effective sales tactic. The headline of this post, contrarians are with power like a dog is with a car. They don't know what to do with it once they catch it. Barnes has given Trump fantastic advice for years. It isn't Barnes' fault that Trump has badly led us astray. How has he led you astray, weakling? How the mighty have fallen. Cheeto dust moment. I'm starting to believe they are foreign assets. I see two massive things with this post. And that is people on the forum criticizing Donald Trump, for which we know it's legit. Alex Jones and Robert Barnes are criticizing Donald Trump. I see comments on my posts and they say things like, it's funny because there is absolutely this conflict happening. There are some Trump supporters calling me a traitor for simply posting what was said. What I should say is both sides of this are calling me a traitor. Some are saying allowing Trump to attack Iran for Israel is a betrayal of this country. Tim, you spineless. And then you have other people saying, Tim, you spineless coward, why won't you get behind Trump? I don't support Trump's efforts in Iran. I don't. I don't want to see this massive split. But you know what? I think most of these people don't care. The effective way to communicate to Trump, I'll say this to Alex and Robert Barnes, is not to threaten him with being tackled and forcefully removed. But I suppose if they are convinced there is no convincing him, then they're genuinely advocating for a violent coup against the sitting president of the United States, which is seditious. I am not suggesting that Trump is right. In fact, I think we should not have gone into Iran, and I've said it from the beginning. But again, Trump is not a man who is convinced by you spitting in his face. Trying to maintain discourse to prevent something worse. So I'm not going to play these games because it's ineffective. It just is. I do not want Trump to bomb power plants or bridges. I do not want Trump to engage ground troops in Iran. I believe at this point, the best thing Trump can do is back off. That being said, going to a Trump supporter and saying remove Trump by force is not going to convince anybody to communicate this, and it's not going to create a viable opportunity to do so. I don't have any good answers. Sorry. I am just a guy who complains on the internet. I don't know what y'all expect me to do. Go to Trump's house, the White House? Go to Mar-a-Lago? Trump, you got to back off. Well, we're at where we are at for a variety of reasons. And I think everybody is genuinely terrified about what comes next. But again, I will say, as I said in the beginning, if Trump wins, all of these people will flip on a dime. It's just the way it goes historically. If Trump succeeds, the Iranian government capitulates, their energy infrastructure falls into this Western sphere of influence, the conflict in the Middle East largely dries out. These people will say he is the peacemaker. Indeed. Others will say the Antichrist is supposed to bring peace to the Middle East. He would be injured on the right side of his head, as we can see in the photo he was, and his right arm would be withered, like Trump has the gigantic spreading splotch on his arm that he keeps trying to cover up. Certainly, there are people who believe he is the Antichrist. If that were the case, he's going to win in Iran. I don't know what that means. Believe it for yourself. Whatever. I don't know. We'll wrap up there, though. Stay tuned. Tonight's the night. It may all come to a conclusion, or it may just be kicking off. Smash the like button. Share the show. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you all in the next segment.